Alright everyone, today I'm gonna expose a big secret when it comes to making Spanish guitar beats, all from scratch in FL Studio. So let's not waste any more time, we're just gonna jump right in. Alright, so we're now here in FL Studio 21, as you guys can see. And first things first, we obviously need to pick a BPM for this one. So in this case, I'm gonna go from 140 and put it a little bit down. So something in between 110 and 120 to 125, I think is gonna be ideal. So in this case, I'm just gonna drag it down to something like 120 or maybe 118. Now that we have this, we obviously need to pick an instrument, and when we're going for a Spanish guitar type of beat, you definitely want to make sure to go with a nylon guitar. So as most of you guys already know, I love using this nylon sky guitar in Omnisphere, but you guys can obviously use the Ilya Efimov guitar in Contact or the pick nylon guitar as well. Those two are pretty nice, but my personal favorite is definitely this one in Omnisphere right here. Now before I actually start laying down the pattern, I highly recommend just adding a few effects to make that guitar sound super clean. So when it comes to my effects, I usually just like to go for a RC20 with the Vinyl 3 preset just to get a little bit of that vintage type of sound. It really gives the nylon guitar a little bit more character, so I highly recommend going for this one to start off with. But just to clean up the sound as well, I highly recommend adding a little bit of reverb to get that ambience, as well as an EQ to cut out those frequencies we don't really want from the guitar. Now that we have pretty much everything laid down, it's time we start to open up the piano roll and go for a nice little Spanish guitar pattern. In this case, we're going to go over to View, Scale Highlighting, and make sure to pick a scale. For this case, I'm just going to be using the B minor scale, and then we're going to do a few adjustments later on. But since we are working in the B minor scale, let's just simply start off with a B minor chord. So that's a simple B minor chord, but we are also going to add a little bit of a B down here. So I'm just going to copy the same B and put it down to the B4 as well. Right, so the secret to really get that Spanish type of sound is actually very simple, but it's crucial that you nail this down. So the secret is actually just to go over to the magnet tool first, and then you want to make sure you're in third beat. And from here, all you're gonna do is just highlight your top notes, and you're just gonna move them 4 spaces to the side. So what I mean by this is that you're just gonna hold shift on your keyboard while you have highlighted your notes, and then we're just gonna click the arrow key to the right 4 times. So it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4. Just like this. And from here, all we're gonna do is just unselect one of them. So we're gonna keep the bottom 2 selected like this, and again 1, 2, 3, 4 to the side. This time we're gonna keep the last one selected right there and do 1, 2, 3, 4 to the side. So you can already hear we're starting to get that Spanish type of vibe just out of these 4 simple notes. And from here, we're pretty much just going to keep doing the same exact thing over and over again. But this is kind of where you can get a little bit creative. So we're going to cut these ones so we have the 3 notes again, which we can move to the side 4 times. Now, like I said, you can get a little bit more creative right here. So you can obviously maybe invert this one up 1 octave, so you have it in the higher pitch frequencies, or you can just keep them down and maybe invert this middle note instead. You can really get creative and play a little bit around with it. So in my case, I'm just going to highlight this one and pitch it up by 1 octave right there, so we can get more of those higher frequencies. And I'm going to try doing the same exact thing as we did on the first part. So just pitch them 4 to the side right there. Again, just highlight everything and do 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure to hold shift on your keyboard because that's going to move it to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the last one, 1, 2, 3, 4. So as long as you are in the 3rd step right there, this is pretty much going to give you that Spanish type of sound. You also want to make sure to extend this out so they kind of match right there. It makes the guitar sound a little bit smoother. I find it if you shorten some of them, it can sound pretty cool, but usually it sounds the best if you're just extending them out all the way. And now we're just going to keep building off of this, doing the same exact thing over and over again. So that's pretty much the secret right there. Now, like I said, this is where you can really get creative. So if we go a little bit into the scale right here, you can see we have some half steps right here. So sometimes it sounds pretty cool if you just pitch some of the notes up by 1 semitone or down by 1 semitone. So I'm just going to play a little bit around with it until we have a nice and cool sounding pattern. Right, so for the second part, I pretty much just copied the first thing right here over to the second part. But a cool little trick you guys can do to really get a Spanish type of sound as well. You guys might not understand this because it's kind of out of key, but if you actually go to the minor harmonic scale, it would actually be in key. So if you just pitch this middle note down by 1 semitone, so you can kind of see it's on the black note right there, so it's not really in key. But if you just take a listen, it's going to give you a cool Spanish type of sound. So you can hear the ending right there. Gives you kind of that Spanish type of sound, like I said. But obviously, like I said, get creative and just play a little bit around with the notes. It's going to give you a different feel to it. Now from here, just copy the whole thing over and pitch everything down by 5 semitones. So we're going to do it very simply, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. And then you can obviously just move some of these notes. So as you guys can see, we have a couple higher pitched notes right here. So we can just take this if we want to and pitch it up by 1 octave. So it's a little bit more in tune with this right here. Alright, from here, instead of having it on a B, I'm actually going to pitch it up to a D minor scale instead. So let's see how this sounds. Yeah, that's way better. You can hear we really have that Spanish sound going on right now. Make sure to also randomize the velocity so you get a more natural sound. And a pro tip is actually also to go in and move a few of the notes a little bit to the side, holding Alt on your keyboard and just moving them a little bit off grid. Again, it's just going to give you more of that natural type of sound. Now from here, we obviously need a little bit of a top line guitar because that's really what gives us that Spanish type of sound when you have that cool counter melody on top. So what we're actually going to do is just copy the same exact guitar, just clone it. So we have another instance of Omnisphere using the Nylon Sky guitar. And from here, you kind of have to go a little bit by ear, but just try to think of a little bit of a cool counter melody you would fit on top of this one you already have. So what I personally like to do is just to listen to the loop over and over again and kind of try to hum a little bit of a counter melody on top. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Yes, I think I have something in mind right there. Right, so now we have this counter melody right here. So again, we're kind of using this detune note right there to enhance that Spanish character. As most of you guys probably know, these Spanish guitar beats go perfectly if you just add a flute on top. So in this case, I'm just going to open up Contact and use this Jubal flute right there. Old school type of flute. You guys probably know the crystal flute from Embertone as well as this one, but these ones actually sound super fire. So I'm just going to record in a pattern until we have something that sounds nice. So we're kind of copying the guitar melody we had on top, with just a little bit of a different sound though. Right now I'm just pitching everything down by 2 semitones as well, just to get a different sound to the sample. Right, the next thing we're going to do now is just add a bass for the low end. So you can pretty much just go for whatever type of bass you want to, but I feel like for Spanish guitar beats, it's nice to also have a natural sounding bass. So I'm just going to use this Scarby bass from Contact. It's more of a live type of bass. So I'm just going to use this one very simply, just put it down on the root note and it's going to sound nice. Just to really fill out the low end of our sample. So this is going to be perfect for like an intro section. Next thing we want to do now is just add a few little textures here and there to finish off the whole thing. Right, so just to finish off the whole sample, I added this texture right here, just a little bit of a birds texture in the background, as well as these vocals that we can have, so it's a little bit more ambient. So that's pretty much it for the sample right there. I think it's time we add some drums soon. Alright, so like I said, it's time we add some drums. As for all the drum sounds I'm using, they are of course coming from my Motion Bundle kit. So if you guys like any of the drum sounds you hear in this video, or you want a one-shot as well as a sample pack and a MIDI kit all together, make sure to check out the kit. It is on my website, which is BBMarko.com, or you guys can just click the first link down below. I think we're actually going to use some rims as a clap for this one, or maybe we can just layer them. I'm just going to start with this rim right here. Then I'm just going to layer it with a simple clap so it has a little bit more of a unique sound. So we're just going to go over to the clap, drag in this one right here, and just copy paste it right over. The cool thing is that we can now start to add a little bit more of a bounce with the rim. For the hi-hats, obviously I'm going over to the MIDI section since we have 100 hi-hat MIDIs in here. So let's just drag in a random one. adjust the out knob a bit. Alright, so here we have the full beat. My camera died, by the way, so that's why my face isn't here, but here's the final thing. Bass in the intro with the guitar.
Shut up, Marco.
And it drops in. Counter melody with the vocals. Drums super punchy on this one. Second part right here. With the flute. Gives us a little bit of a different bounce. Let me slow things down a bit. Verse section right here. Just the guitar with the texture and the drums before we go back in. Left part with the vocals right there. Then we pretty much have the intro come in right here before it drops again. No effects, just pretty much the same thing, just brought back the low end. Then it drops